In the early hours of a calm morning, before the village had fully awakened, Ly Tieu Ca was already tending to the small garden that lay beside her home. The sun had barely crept over the horizon, and the air was still cool and fresh. The faint rustling of leaves accompanied her gentle footsteps as she carried a bucket of clean water, careful to nourish the young cabbage plants that had just begun to stretch toward the sky. The weather forecast promised no rain today, so watering the crops was essential. Each leaf glistened with the droplets she sprinkled, vibrant and green, a testament to the care and attention given daily. Ly Tieu Ca often reflected on how simple yet vital these moments were. The water from the new supply source had saved countless hours of labor, allowing her and the workers to focus on other pressing tasks. She smiled quietly, observing a particularly large cabbage whose leaves had grown so big they had begun to split. While it might have been unfortunate for the vegetable itself, it meant there was food for the chickens and ducks nearby, a small circle of life sustained by the land. The rhythm of life here was steady, but challenges were never far. Just beyond the garden lay the ongoing construction site, perched precariously atop a steep hill. The terrain was rough, dotted with jagged rocks, and prone to heavy rains that could trigger landslides. Ly Tieu Ca knew the risks well. The last thing anyone wanted was for months of hard work to be undone by nature's fury. She walked toward the site, her eyes scanning every detail, from the soil's stability to the drainage trenches carved carefully to divert rainwater. Her mind ran through possible solutions, calculating what needed reinforcement and what could be left as is. The CEO, a man of vision and calm authority, had always been a pillar of support, offering guidance whenever difficulties arose. She recalled their recent conversations about designing a circular path to the mountaintop, making the terrain accessible enough for machinery and safe for workers. It was a complex engineering challenge, how to balance the natural landscape with human ambition. "It's hard to reach the top with machines," she remembered saying during their last meeting. "The slope is too steep, and rocks make it almost impossible." The CEO nodded thoughtfully. "We need to find a way, perhaps by building a gradual, winding road. Once the path is set and leveled, we can secure it to prevent erosion. Safety is our top priority." Their plan was ambitious but necessary. The construction needed to be completed before the Tet holiday, a tight deadline that weighed heavily on everyone's shoulders. To motivate the workforce, the CEO had made the decisive call to increase wages by 10% for the month, a gesture that lifted spirits and renewed commitment. Back at the construction site, the workers labored tirelessly, shaping the earth, laying concrete layers, and installing sturdy drainage channels. Ly Tieu Ca inspected the progress daily, checking that the trenches followed the design meticulously, ensuring the water would flow into the nearby streams without causing damage. She felt a quiet satisfaction in seeing the project steadily taking shape, knowing that every step forward was a step toward a safer, more prosperous future for the community. Amid the flurry of work, life's tender moments shone through. Ly Tieu Ca's young child, Han, was growing rapidly, her small hands and bright eyes a source of endless joy. Despite the demands of managing the garden, overseeing the construction, and coordinating with the CEO and workers, Ly Tieu Ca carved out time to care for Han, preparing nutritious meals and ensuring the little one was comfortable and happy. One afternoon, as the sun warmed the earth, she carried a basket of fresh oranges she had harvested from the trees in her yard to the local market. The fruits, a new variety called Orange V2, were sweeter and more resilient than previous crops, a sign of the fruitful labor and care poured into the land. At the market, neighbors greeted her warmly, admiring the bright, juicy oranges. "Your oranges are the best this season," a vendor said. "The cold weather must have helped them develop that extra sweetness." Ly Tieu Ca smiled, proud but humble. "It's the earth and a little patience." Returning home, she reflected on how intertwined their lives were with the land and each other. The garden, the construction, the workers, the market, all parts of a greater whole sustained by dedication and cooperation. As evening approached, the workers returned to their homes nearby, resting briefly before resuming their tasks the next day. The CEO's encouragement to work diligently yet fairly was evident in every corner, a balance between progress and care, ambition and humanity. Yet the challenges were far from over. The hillside still held secrets, the weather unpredictable, and the deadline pressing. But with steady hands, clear vision, and a community bound by mutual respect and support, Ly Tieu Ca and her team faced the future with hope and determination. The morning air was crisp as Ly Tieu Ca prepared to visit the mountaintop construction site once more. The path was still rough, but progress had been made. The winding road was beginning to take shape, carved carefully into the steep hillside to accommodate the heavy machinery needed to complete the project. The workers were diligent, their faces etched with determination, and the occasional smile when the CEO passed by to offer encouragement or check on their welfare. Despite the challenges, morale was high. The 10% wage increase had brought tangible relief and motivation, and many workers spoke of their hopes for a better Tet holiday, a time to rest and reunite with family after months of labor. Ly Tieu Ca knew that such moments of rest were essential. Hard work alone was not enough without balance and care. As she ascended the path, her thoughts drifted to the conversations she'd had with the CEO, James. He was a man who valued not only the success of the project, but the well-being of everyone involved. They often discussed the future beyond the immediate goals, the sustainability of the forests, the nurturing of young trees that would one day replace the timber being harvested, and the cultivation of a thriving community supported by honest labor. "The hills hold our future," James had said one afternoon, his gaze fixed on the forested slopes below. "If we don't care for the land, there won't be a future to build on." Those words resonated deeply with Ly Tieu Ca. She had seen firsthand the effects of neglect, erosion, diminished crops, and the hardships faced by families when nature's balance was disrupted. Their work was more than construction. It was stewardship. Reaching the summit, she paused to survey the site. Concrete trenches, reinforced with sturdy cement strips, channeled the rainwater safely downhill. The new drainage systems were crucial in preventing landslides, a constant threat in this mountainous region during the heavy rainy season. The engineers had designed the network to discharge water into natural streams spaced about every kilometer, distributing the flow evenly. James arrived shortly after, his face calm but focused. Together they inspected the progress and discussed next steps. "We must finish before Tet," James reminded gently, knowing the weight of the deadline, but not at the expense of safety or quality. Ly Tieu Ca nodded. "The workers are committed. I'll ensure they keep their pace, and will keep the standards high." Their teamwork extended beyond plans and inspections. James had taken a personal interest in the workers' lives, advocating for better wages and bonuses as the holiday approached. The promise of a 10% raise had been met with gratitude and renewed dedication, a small but meaningful way to recognize their efforts. Back at the base, the timber factory hummed with activity. Despite the approaching holiday, production remained steady, with around 40 to 50 containers of wood shipped monthly. The CEO aimed to double output this month to provide workers a longer break, reflecting his understanding of the balance between productivity and well-being. Ly Tieu Ca often stopped by the factory to speak with the workers. Their homes, close by, created a tight-knit community where work and life intertwined seamlessly. At midday, the factory would quiet briefly as workers returned home to rest and share meals with their families, then resume until late afternoon. Among the workers was James, the foreman, who coordinated the on-site operations with precision and care. He was trusted and respected, a vital link between the CEO's vision and the ground reality. During one of her visits, Ly Tieu Ca noticed the arrival of fresh orange crates from her orchard. The new orange V2 variety was thriving, their sweetness a sign of the fertile earth and careful cultivation. She smiled, recalling the day she had taken a basket to market, greeted warmly by neighbors who admired her fruit. Life was a delicate balance of effort and reward, struggle and celebration. That evening, Ly Tieu Ca sat by the fire with Han, watching the child sleep peacefully. She thought of the journey they had traveled, the sweat and toil in the fields, the challenges of the mountain project, the support from the CEO and the workers, and the dreams of a better future. She whispered a quiet promise to herself and to Han, to nurture this land and this community, to build not just roads and factories, but lives filled with hope, health and harmony. The road ahead was long and fraught with uncertainty, but with hands joined and hearts committed, they would face whatever came together. For in the steady rhythm of their days, between the tending of crops, the laying of concrete, and the laughter of children, lay the true foundation of progress, rooted deep in care, resilience, and shared dreams.